Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Baldur's Gate 3. This is the opening scene for it, and today what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to talk about all the different classes. Now, there's a bunch of different subclasses for the classes that unlock at level 3, but there's certain classes that actually get their subclass right from the beginning. And we're going to be discussing those. We're going to be talking about the races, the classes, all sorts of stuff as we go in, because there's a lot to take in on this game, because this game is really in-depth. And I hope you enjoy. It does follow traditional D&D standards, and the fact that they were able to get a lot of those into the game is absolutely cool. Alright, now when you get into the game, you start a new game, it'll ask you which difficulty you want. Honestly, this is all your personal preference. Alright, let's start this game. You'll go in through here, and then you'll be asked to make your character. Alright, once at the character creation screen, it'll give you several different options. It'll allow you to choose from these different origins. These are the ones, the different characters that they have in the game. But if you go with a custom one, then you'll be asked to go and make your own character. Now, here on the different races, before you make your character, before you select your class, they ask you for your races. So now they ask you to go through, pick whichever one. Each one has different race features, which is really, really cool. All right, so the elves, there's actually different types of elves. You notice when you pick elf, it'll actually ask you the subrace. Matter of fact, it does that for different ones. And the subraces for this is high elf and wood elf. Now, these right here, they give you a different, your base starting speed, and then also different proficiencies and certain special abilities. The racial speed, this is how far you move during your turn. You'll notice that while elves move 9, but halflings only move 7.5. Means because of their short legs, they don't move as far. But these guys, they are really, really cool. I love those guys. All right. And then also, each individual race has their own different proficiencies. Like the elven one, they start out with long sword, short bow, and long bow. But if you go down here to the subrace and you come take a look, then you actually have, oh, you have the exact same ones. All right. All right, but these guys right here, their movement speed, wood elves, because these guys right here, they're used to running through the woods and such, traversing lots of land. These guys are actually more nimble than their more Thestrian cousins here. So, yeah, these guys, while these guys start out with a spell cantrip, these guys start out with increased movement speed, which makes these guys probably one of the fastest guys in the game, other than a monk. So, yeah. Matter of fact, a wood elf monk would be insane. And we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. All right, so dark vision. This right here means that while they're in a dark area, they can actually kind of see. Not perfectly, but they can see, and they don't have to light a torch. Now, lighting a torch actually cancels their dark vision. So, just be aware of that. All right, and also, since they have Fey ancestry, they have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep, which is actually a really cool ability of these guys. All right, so Tiefling. These guys right here, these little horny dudes, these guys are really, really cool. All right, so these guys, they have the same racial speed as the High Elves. They have dark vision, and also they have hellish resistance. You have the resistance to fire damage, taking only half the damage from it, which is a really cool ability. Now, on their subclasses, or their sub-races, they have the Asmodeus Tiefling. These right here are the different demons that they are from. All right, so, bound to the Nessus, the deepest layer of the Hells, these Tieflings inherited the ability to wield fire and darkness from the archdevil Asmodeus, infernal bloodline. That's pretty cool, which means they have the blood of Asmodeus, or Asmodeus, however you want to pronounce it. And then these guys are Mephistopheles, and these guys are Zerial. All right, now the cantrip they start out with is Produce Flame, which is a fire one. All right, and they can do that once per long rest. The Mephistopheles ones, these guys, they start out with Mage Hand, which allows them to pick up objects from a distance. It can't be too heavy of an object, but it is an object. Mage Hand works out really, really well. Plus, also, this is a cantrip, which means that they can use it a lot. All right, and then the Zerial one starts out with Thaumaturgy, which pretty dang cool. It gain advantage on intimidation and performance checks. These guys would actually be rather good bards. All right. And then we have the drow, or the drow, which however you pronounce that. Okay, so they have a base starting speed of 9. Drow weapon training, which is rapier, short sword, and hand crossbow, since they primarily live in the Underdark, and bows really aren't a thing, but crossbows are generally used. Superior dark vision. They can see twice as far with their dark vision because they live in the Underdark. Fey ancestry, the exact same as the Elven ones, where you can't be put to sleep and you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed. Now, the advantage and the disadvantage system is whenever you have advantage on something and you roll a die, you roll an additional die and you take the highest die roll. And in Baldur's Gate 3, they do have where you roll the dice. It's a very cool system that they have, very D&D-esque, and they captured it really, really well in this game. Now, also for disadvantage is where you roll 2 dice and you take the lowest one, which is kind of unfortunate. And just a regular roll is just 1 die and you take the result. All right, so now on the sub-races for these guys, there's 2 different ones. They have the Lolth sworn one. Lolth is the demon queen of, or the spider demon queen of the Drow. And then Seldarin, which is they can be found seeking allies from all over the Faerun, aiming to settle their conflict with Lolth. These guys are against Lolth. These guys are for Lolth. All right? So there's not really too many advantages that come from those, but it is a little bit of RP, which is cool. All right, so humans. Humans are very versatile. It's actually rather cool. And also, you'll notice that these guys, they get bonuses as well as to their starting stats. All right? Over here, you'll notice that they get initiative, and the different starting stats that they get are pretty cool. And you'll see that there's this right here. Hold on. It's because I have it on Warlock. That's their, there's a little mark over here that says that it goes over that. But yeah, this right here is their primary stat because we have it set on Warlock. All right, but you'll notice over here that their stats are changing as I'm clicking through because different ones get different bonuses to their starting stats, which is kind of cool. All right, so humans get the biggest bonus to stats, which is kind of cool. All right, so these guys right here, they have a racial movement of 9. Civil militia, they start out with the ability to use spears, pikes, halberds, and glaives, and they're able to use light armor and shields right from the get-go. It doesn't matter what class you use, you can use light armor. All right, and then human versatility, select an additional skill to be proficient in. Your carrying capacity is increased by 1/4, which means that these guys, they're pretty good on their pack horse stuff. They don't have any subclasses, but that's okay. And then Githyanki. These guys, oh man, I love these guys. These are great. All right, so they go through, they have astral knowledge, gain proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability. That's pretty cool. All right, they can also use Mage Hand. And then also they have racial speed of 9 and martial prodigy, which is a lifetime of relentless training, gave you armor proficiency with light and medium armor, as well as proficiency with short sword, long sword, and great sword, which is wicked cool. And I haven't verified if you can find a Githyanki sword in this, but oh man, Githyanki swords, their silver swords are amazing. They're Vorpal weapons, so cool. All right, so now we'll go to Dwarf. All right, Dwarf actually is, these guys are your sturdy, robust guys. They have a lot of constitution because, you know, they're hardy guys, which is awesome. All right, and then the racial speed is a little bit slower, 7.5, and they have combat training, which is battle axe, hand axe, light hammer, and warhammer to start out with. And then dark vision up to 12, and then dwarven resilience. All right, and then you have the half elf. Half elf actually has different sub races. They have the high half elf, which gives you the ability to use a cantrip, just like the other half elf. And then they have the wood half elf, which gives you movement speed, which is awesome. And then the drow one, which allows you to get dancing lights. Pretty cool. Also, they get additional starting stats for their abilities. All right, and then also they get civil militia, much like humans. Because half-elves, they're half human, half whatever type of elf they are from, which means they get additional bonuses. All right, and then you have halflings. These guys, they're not hobbits, but they're hobbits. Yeah. Okay, so these guys, they start out with only being able to move 7.5. They have the lucky trait, which when you roll a 1 for any roll, ability check, saving throw, you can re-roll that die and must use the new roll, which is wicked cool because a 1 is always a critical failure. And these guys, they don't get them, which is awesome. All right, and then Brave, you take advantage on saving throws against being frightened. Very cool. Very Hobbit-esque. All right, Gnome. These guys, much again, they are shorter, so they only move 7.5. Also, they get Gnome Cunning. You have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Very cool. Also, they have certain subclasses, which are Dark Vision and Artificial's Lore on this one. And then the Forest Gnome. These guys, they're more woodland creatures. They're more Fey ancestry. And so they have the ability to speak with animals. Very cool. And then you have the ones that are more like the Drow, which are Superior Dark Vision and Stone Camouflage. You get advantage on stealth checks. Very cool. All right, and then the gnome, or now we go into the Dragonborn, the new race that just came out in the full release of the game. Very, very cool. These guys are wicked awesome. Now, these guys, they get to choose their bloodline, and each of what they take, which color gives them a certain breath weapon, and then resistance to that. So for black, it's acid. For blue, it's lightning and electricity. Brass is fire. Bronze is lightning, much like the blue. Copper is much like the black. Let's see. Gold is much like the red, which is fire. And then green is poison, which is, let's see, it's by copper? Bronze, no. Brass, no. Maybe they're the ones that get that. Oh, wait, hold on. Nope, because they get frost, and they get frost, and then red gets fire. Okay, all right. I always thought these guys right here were the ones that were equal to green. All right, well, hey, it's weird that they did it that way. All right, and then you have the half-orcs. Half-orcs, these are tanky little dudes. They are half-orc, half-human, which is really cool. They start off with a base racial movement of 9. They have dark vision. They have reckless endurance, which if you reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of becoming down, which means you're allowed to live just a little bit longer in a fight, which is cool. Savage attacks. When you land a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, your damage dice are tripled instead of doubled. Whenever you roll a 20 on the die and during combat, you deal double damage for, well, you roll twice the combat dice for damage. Not these guys. These guys, they roll 3 dice, which means they deal a ton of damage. It is so cool. All right, now let's get down into talking about the classes. Barbarian. These guys right here are your tanky guys. These guys, they get certain special abilities, much like the half-orc. And if you take these guys and you mix them with half-orc, they just become absolute monsters. All right, so they have, while not wearing armor, you add your Constitution modifier to your armor class. Very, very cool. Also, they have the ability to rage. Now, you can decide when to rage, but when you do, it's used as a bonus action, and it allows you to basically start ripping things apart much easier. So while raging, you're stronger and you deal 2 extra damage with melee and improvised weapons and when throwing objects. Also, your rage does level up with you. And as you get more and more powerful, your rage will, really start to get, pretty dang cool. And also, here's the abilities I was talking about earlier. It tells you that there's a bonus that they get. +2 to strength, +1 to constitution. This is how you look at which one you're, I just didn't see it. So, and then for here, you get +2 to strength and +1 to constitution. Very, very cool. All right, so now back onto the classes. And these guys, as they level up, they get to be really, really fierce fighters. And fierce fighters that can wear armor, but you don't really have to, which is absolutely amazing. And they're very, very tanky and very, very tough. All right, so bards. These guys are your kind of your storytellers, but also they are spellcasters. Also, they are slide. Their primary stat is charisma, which means that they're good at talking, they're good at performing, they're good at talking their way out of problems, and or getting themselves into problems while casting spells. It's very cool. They start off with the ability to cast several cantrips and a bunch of spells, and if you don't like the spells that auto-selects for you, you can go through on the spell selection and you can pick different spells that you want. Very cool. And then also, as you are playing the Bard, you also get a thing called Bardic Inspiration, which allows you to inspire allies. They gain 1d6 bonus to their attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, and you get a certain amount of these per long rest. It's a very, very cool thing. And then, as you level up, you get more spells, you get more abilities, and at level 3, they are able to unlock their subclass. Alright, so next class is the Cleric. Now, these are one of the classes that get their subclass at level 1. You can choose their subclass because you're determining how that Cleric has been, you know, their background, also as they're moving forward, just what kind of class they are. You do this a lot, you do this with the Paladin as well, because you need to decide what kind of oath you take, but we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. Alright, so the Cleric, these guys right here, they are, I mean, these are, for the most part, they can be your heal classes, or they can just be a spellcaster class. It depends on how you want to play it. But they do get a lot of heals, a lot of, divine type spellcasting, and you'll notice from their spells, they get a big selection of cantrips and also just regular spells, which is very, very cool. Alright, so they can choose ones to help your party, ones to buff your party, ones to heal your party, and other ones that allow you to destroy the things that your party doesn't like. It's very cool. All right, so subclasses. All right, the Life Domain. The Life Domain is an aspect of many good deities, offering spells that protect and restore the mind, body, and soul. Now, these right here, the Cure Wounds and the Bless spell, these right here are spells that you get from the Life Domain, which, honestly, bonus spells are always a bonus. All right, and then their Disciple of Life, your devotion empowers your healing spells. When casting a healing spell, the target regains additional hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level, which means that when you cast a healing spell, that healing spell heals for even more. Really awesome. These guys right here, they are the healer's healer of healers. Absolutely amazing. All right, Light Domain. The Light Domain is offered by deities of justice, majesty, and primordial flame, providing spells that dispel darkness and harm the undead, which, from what I've heard, there is a lot of undead in this game. Alright, so they start out with an additional cantrip of light, which allows them to illuminate the area around them, and then also Burning Hands, which is typically a mage spell or a wizard spell, but they're able to do that, and then also Fairy Fire, which allows them to illuminate targets, and then get advantage to hit those targets that are illuminated. Very cool spell. Alright, so they get the subclass feature, Warding Flare. Shield yourself with Divine Light. Use your reaction to impose disadvantage on an attacker, possibly causing their attack to miss. Very, very cool. You can give things... you can give them... When they are attacked, you can use your reaction to shield yourself and give that person disadvantage to attack you. So they have to roll the 2 20-sided dice and then take the lower one. It's very cool. Alright, they get Trickery Domain, which makes them more like a rogue-type cleric, which is really cool. Alright, domain shared by wicked, chaotic, and mischievous deities alike. Those who channel trickery specialize in deception and illusion magic. They get Blessing of the Trickster, grant another creature advantage on stealth checks. And then Charm Person is their Trickery Domain spell, and Disguise Self. Very cool. Alright, Knowledge Domain. These ones, they make them more of a caster's cleric, which, yeah. All right, so they get Knowledge Domain, adaptable and adroit in manner of languages and skills. Their mind is an intellectual cup brimming with exquisite knowing. Very cool. They start off with the Command spell, which allows them to give a one-word command to something to either flee, move closer, freeze, drop, or put down their weapon. It's very cool. And then they also get the ability to cause things to fall asleep, which, remember earlier where we were talking about the elf, where they're immune to that, which, yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, Nature Domain. This makes them more of a, not really a druid, but kind of. Like they're kind of a wannabe druid, but also, yeah, it's like an elven type cleric. Pretty cool. You embody the vast viridian power of the natural world, an avatar of the subtle divinity of fruitfall, aviation migration, and woodland silence, and the landslide's roaring fury. Very cool. All right, you start off with the cantrip Shillelagh, which allows you to summon a magical club in your hand for a limited amount of time, which deals magic damage. Pretty cool. And you get the spell Speak with Animals and Animal Friendship, and you get the subclass feature Acolyte of Nature. You learn a Druid cantrip and become proficient in animal handling, nature, or survival. Yeah, so they become kind of like Druids, but not really Druids. Right. And then Tempos Domain. Your faith has made you the very thunder that quakes the black firmament. The lightning coursing through the veins is of a terrible storm. These guys, yeah, they empower natural elements in order to, in order to help them out. It's so cool. All right, and they get Wrath of the Storm. Strike back at an attacking creature, potentially dealing 2 to 16 lightning damage. On a failed saving throw, you deal half of that roll. So when something attacks you, you can strike back at it and just deal a ton of damage to it. They get to make a saving throw for half damage, but it's still pretty dang cool. All right, War Domain. These guys are the battlefield clerics. These are, when I picture a dwarven cleric, this is what I picture. All right, fortified by holy zeal, you brandish an arsenal of sacramental savagery to use against those who deem unrighteous. All right, they get the ability Divine Favor. Your attack rolls deal an additional 1d4 radiant damage for 3 turns. Very cool. And Shield of Faith. Protect a creature from attacks, increasing your armor class by 2. War Priest. When you make an unarmed or weapon attack, you can spend a War Priest charge to make an additional attack as a bonus action. These guys can dish out some serious damage. Very, very cool. All right, and then also you get to go through and select your different deity, and then each deity will give you certain abilities or whatnot as you get a little bit higher up. All right, so let's see, go back to classes. Now, that was Cleric. Cleric was really in-depth because of all the subclasses they have available to them from the beginning. And now, Druids. These guys, they embody the power of nature. And as they level up, they can eventually shape change into different creatures. Bears, you know what I'm talking about. Wolves, spiders, so they can climb on the walls. All sorts of cool stuff. Plus, also, they are casters, much like the Cleric. And they do cast a lot of nature/divine spells. While the Cleric class casts most divine spells and some nature, Druid casts most nature, some divine. Druid also casts a lot of element spells, which allow them to channel lightning and such, create big, massive clouds, thunderstorms above everybody that shoot lightning down on everybody. A very, very cool class. All right, now their class feature is they get special spells. And the spells they get to choose from, it's really, really cool. They get a lot of nature-type spells. All right, now fighters. Fighters are probably the most versatile melee combat in this game, in all of D&D. These guys, they get additional attacks much faster. They get the ability to heal themselves. Matter of fact, over here, they get... Oh, no, that's... Yeah, Second Wind is the ability that allows them to... basically get their second wind. It is what it is. It is what it says, and allows them to heal up in combat just by their own force of will while they're dealing just a ton of damage. They can dual wield, they can use a sword and shield, they can also use a two-handed weapon, grab some pole arms, they can use ranged combat. If there's a way of fighting, these guys can do all of it except for what the next class is. All right, monks. These guys are intense. These guys, they're your martial arts guys. Although there is a subclass later on that turns them into more of a shadowy ninja type character, which, yeah, it's really cool. You can teleport through the shadows and everything. It's pretty fun. Or you can go with one that is just a straight up Jackie Chan guy. Absolutely amazing. These guys, they wear no armor. They can wield simple weapons. And they can also kick you in the face, and they can do it really, really well. They have the ability Flurry of Blows. They are allowed to use an additional attack and just as a bonus action and just start wailing on people. It is awesome. And then they have their key stat, which controls just about everything for them. They get a certain amount of key points that they can spend for different things. And then, yeah, so they can use unarmored defense. Your reflexes are as effective as any armor while not wearing armor. You add your wisdom modifier to your armor class. Very, very cool. So get that wisdom stat high up, and then don't wear any armor. Very high strength, dexterities on these guys. Matter of fact, if you have higher dexterity than you do strength, then you use dexterity as your modifier instead of strength. Very cool. All right. Dexterous, yeah, this right here. Attacks with monk weapons and unarmored attacks scale with your dexterity instead of your strength if your dexterity is higher. This is what I was just talking about. If you have a very high dexterity stat, then, yeah, your strength stat, you use the dexterity instead of your strength. All right. Martial arts death strikes. Attacks with monk weapons and unarmed attacks deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage unless their normal damage is higher. And this damage modifier goes up as monks level up, and then eventually your fists turn into magic weapons and everything, so where you could just beat the crap out of things, and you never have to equip a weapon with these guys if you don't want to. All right. They also get bonus unarmed strike. After making an attack with a monk weapon or while unarmed, you can make another attack as a bonus action, which, yeah, these guys, they deal a lot of damage. They are a little bit limited in some of the things, but in other things, these guys they're powerhouses. Absolutely amazing. All right, now Paladin. These guys right here, as you are playing your Paladin, you have to make an oath, and we'll get into that here in just a couple minutes, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm going to role play as this character. That's not a role-play decision. It's a creed. It's how you have to play the character, and if you don't play the character, you become what they call an oath breaker. You lose your abilities, and then all of a sudden you become this different subclass of Paladin known as an oath breaker, where you can go through. You can either become a big Death Knight, or you can just stay good and continue to be a Paladin who's just lost his oath and is trying to regain that back, or just a Paladin that just doesn't care. You become a drunkard, whatever. It's up to you, all right? But, yeah, they get the ability to lay on hands, which allows them to heal people, and then also give divine sense, so where they can get advantages against evil things, celestials, fiends, undead. They also get, they get a certain amount of oath charges that they level up that they can use for different things as they go. All right, now here's the oaths I was talking about. All right, let's see, right here. The Oath of Ancient Tenets. Now, read these carefully, because if you have a Paladin in your party, you have to play by these rules. If you don't, you break your oath, and you lose stuff. I mean, yeah, you gain some other stuff for becoming an Oathbreaker, but you lose the stuff of this. So, Oath of the Ancient Paladins abide by the following tenets. Kindle the light through acts of kindness, and kindle the light of hope in the balanced hollows of despair. Or in the bleakest hollows of despair. Shelter the light where love blooms, stand against the devilry that would snip its stem. Preserve your own light. Delight in culture and small joys to preserve light in your own heart. So these guys, they're trying to bring good into the world. All right? And they also get the ability of healing radiance. Oath of devotion. These guys, they have Holy Rebuke, which allows them to have a vengeful aura that deals damage to anyone that hits them with melee attack. Their Oath of Devotion is courage, stride dauntlessly into action, compassion, show clemency when prudent, and lend your arm to those in need. Duty, tend your responsibilities, obey just laws, and support those entrusted to your care. These guys can't flee. One of their tenets is courage. They cannot run from a fight. Just bear that in mind, all right? Okay, now these guys, the Oath of Vengeance. These ones are the ones that, if you have an Oath of Vengeance guy, it's a bit intense. I'm just saying. All right, they have Inquisitor's Might. You and your allies' weapon attacks deal an additional 2 radiant damage and can daze enemies for 1 turn. And here they have their Oath of Vengeance tenets. Fight the greater evil, exerting your wisdom, identify higher morality in any given instance, and fight for it. No mercy for the wicked. Chasten those who dole out their villainy by wiping your blight from the world forever. So pay very close attention to that. Because while you're playing the game and say you accidentally hit or kill an NPC that was good, this paladin has to kill that character. It's in his tenets. Be very mindful of that. And if he doesn't, he becomes an Oathbreaker. So if you're the kind that, if you're playing multiplayer and then somebody all of a sudden, oopsie moment, well, guess what? This paladin now has to kill you. Yes. Pay very close attention to that. All right. Now we go to the next class. All right, Ranger. These guys, I love Rangers. Rangers, they can be ranged class. They can be a scout class. You can use bows, crossbows, or you can get up and then eventually at level 2, you get the ability to dual wield weapons amazingly well. At level 2, you get to choose between one of 4 abilities, which allows you to define how you're going to play that character going forward. Either bow, sword, dual wielding, all sorts of stuff. It's very, very cool. All right, now these guys, they get a favored enemy that they get to decide on how they actually play their class. It's Bounty Hunter, Keeper of the Veil, and each one of these has different things that they can do. They can be Mage Breakers, Ranger Knight, Sanctified Stalker. They get different bonuses against just about everything. Natural, now down here, you get to decide what... yeah, you're basically just giving a little bit more flavor text. You get additional cantrips, sometimes, not all the time, at least I believe. Yeah, that's for the Sanctified Stalker. Yeah, and then you get to decide who you dislike, and also you get to decide certain different aspects of the Ranger class. It's very, very cool. Here, one sec. As we get into this, all right, so favorite enemy. The favorite enemy of the one allows you to get certain abilities like Protection from Good for that one. This one gives True Strike. The Knight gives you additional bonus proficiencies, allows you to start off in heavy armor, which is very, very cool. And then the Sanctified Stalker allows you to have proficiency in Religion, Sacred Flame, and there's a Sacred Flame cantrip. And then right here, years of traveling in the wild have made you particularly attuned to beasts or adept at surviving in certain circumstances. All right, so you get just more flavor text that goes on, which also increases a little bit of your stuff. All right, so for this right here, the Beast Tamer, they get the Find Familiar ability. And now later on, as you get a subclass, you can actually get the ability to have your own beast that comes along with you, and that's part of the subclass that you get at level 3 for these guys. Very, very cool. All right, they also have the Urban Tracker one, which allows you to have the ability to Sleight of Hand. And then Wanderer Gold gives you resistance to cold damage, or Wanderer Cold, which means that you lived in the Northlands and you just developed a natural resistance to cold. All right, and this the Fire means that you lived in like the deserts and the warmer climates, and you get a resistance to fire damage. And then the next one is Poison, which you lived in the swamps, you get resistance to poison damage. I love Rangers. Rangers are one of my favorite classes in this game. All right, Rogues. These guys are the stealthy guys. You can have Trickster Rogues that are pickpocketing you, picking locks, and you can also have the Caster ones, which have certain mage spells they can use as well. You get those at level 3, but also they get the ability to sneak attack, which means that if any chance at any time they have advantage on the attack roll, they deal additional damage. And this amount of damage levels up to absurd amounts as they get higher level. These guys, they're a little bit frail, a little bit weak, but these guys will dish out so much damage. It's amazing. Also, they get natural bonuses against going against being able to get hit by traps and stuff like that. Also, they get an ability called Uncanny Dodge, which allows them to move out of the way of stuff. They're very, very cool class. I love rogues. Matter of fact, I may actually make a Ranger Rogue multi-class. I think that would be fun. All right, Sorcerer. These guys right here, they get to choose their subclass at level 1 for a very good reason. Because how a sorcerer gets their magic, they're not like a wizard. They don't spend their lives in a library learning about magic or in a mage's tower. These guys, they innately get their magic abilities. So how they get their magic abilities, that's part of their subclass. All right, their normal stat is charisma, and for their class features, they get spells, but also they get the ability to regain back spells as they get higher level. They get certain different abilities from being a sorcerer. It's very, very cool. Now, their subclasses. Wild magic. Wild magic, they have no idea how they get it. They just are able to channel magic, and sometimes that magic just doesn't work the way they intended it to. It's really fun. It's very chaotic, but yeah. All right, so your powers come from ancient forces of chaos. They churn within you, waiting to burst free at any time. All right, they get Tides of Chaos, activate to gain advantage on your next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. It's very cool. All right, wild magic stems from the forces of chaos. It churns within the sorcerer, and yeah, okay, that's the same as that. But yeah, whenever they cast the spell, they have to roll, and depending on what they roll, it can be a totally different spell, or it could just blow up in their face. Yeah. All right, Draconic Bloodline. These guys, their veins carry draconic magic, the result of a powerful dragon ancestor. These guys, they get their magic from, dragon bloodline. All right, they have a draconic resilience hit points. Your hit points maximum increases by 1 for each sorcerer level. You get additional hit points. Very, very cool. And then also, dragon-like scales cover parts of your skin. When you aren't wearing armor, your base armor class is 13. That's very, very cool. All right, Storm Sorcery. These guys weather crackling with the energy of ancient deluges or pierced by gales and hurricanes. Your lineage is strange tapestry scrawled by a tempest. And they get the ability, a tempestuous magic. After you cast a level 1 or higher spell, you can fly as a bonus action until the end of your turn without recovering opportunity, or without receiving opportunity attacks. Which means when you move out of somebody's area of being able to hit you, they don't get an automatic attack against you. Very, very cool. Also, the spells that they use, it's like wizard spells, but not the full ones. They get a lot of damage spells. These guys are very much damage dealers, although they do get a lot of utility spells as well, but not nearly as many as wizards do. All right, warlocks. These guys right here, bound by a pact to an all-powerful patron. Warlocks trade their loyalty for supernatural abilities and unique magic, which means they have some sort of magical entity that they are in contact with, which gives them the ability to use their spells and their abilities. Very interesting how they do it. They also get to choose their subclass because it determines how they get their magic. All right, so the Fiend, warlocks in service to fiends work towards corrupting destructive ends intentionally or otherwise and receive hellish blessings in return. Their subclass features are when you reduce a hostile creature to 0 hit points, this gift from your patron grants you 4 temporary hit points. That's very cool. All right, the Great Old One. Yeah, Cthulhu. Just think of it that way. Warlocks bound to eldritch beings in the Fey realm work towards inscrutable goals, gaining strange powers over entropy and the mind. Very much Cthulhu. All right, they get Mortal Reminder. When you land a critical hit against a creature, that creature and any nearby enemies must succeed a wisdom saving throw or become frightened until your end of your next turn. All right, and then the Archfey, graced by a lady or a lord of the Fey, you are imbued with all your sumptuous and scary qualities of your patron's extraordinary realm. All right, Fey presence, charm or frighten nearby foes from the Feywild, beguiling disturbing magics. Yeah, it's very, very cool. And then one thing you will notice is that they do get spells. It's from a different pool than sorcerers or wizards, but they don't get as many. But the ones that they get, very cool. All right, wizard. These guys are the caster's caster that is a caster for a caster. If there's a magic casting ability that's not divine or druid, well, if it's not cleric or druid, they get it. Wizards, they spend their lives studying magic. They get so many spells. That's what they do. They cast spells. These guys are the absolute ultimate spellcaster. But they do also have a limited amount of spells that they can use. They have to memorize their spells and then use their spells. That's how wizards work. It's an interesting system, but it works really well. All right, so Arcane Recovery. Replenish spell slots while out of combat. You cannot restore spell slots above 5th level. This allows them to get back their spell slots. All right, so, and they get a whole bunch of those, but yeah. All right, so that is the classes. There's a bunch of really cool ones. It allows you to go through, pick and choose what you want. If you're going to multi-class, it allows you to pick and choose those as well. And yeah, it's just a really, really fun game. So hey, I hope this video helps you out a little bit as you go through and determine which class you want to play or which class your group wants to play as you're going through. So hey, if you haven't already, make sure you click that like button. I really appreciate it. It really helps me out on the channel. And if you're new around here, subscribe. And until next time, this is Flinger, and take it easy, everybody.